Your grandmother fed a family of 6 on 2 ounces of butter, 4 ounces of bacon, and 1 shilling's worth of meat per week. And nobody went hungry. Not once. The meals she invented under rationing were so clever, so nutritious, and so satisfying that modern nutritionists are now studying them to fix our obesity crisis. Number 18 on this list is being served in Michelin-starred restaurants at 40 quid a plate. Number 7 costs less than £1 to make and outperforms most protein shakes. And number 1 was so good that families kept making it for decades after rationing ended. Not because they had to, but because nothing else came close. These are the 25 meals that kept Britain alive. And honestly, we were fools to ever stop making them. Let us count them down. Number 25, carrot fudge. When sugar was rationed to 8 ounces per person per week, mothers turned to carrots for sweetness. The Ministry of Food published the recipe in 1941, and it spread through WWI meetings like wildfire. Grate 2 large carrots, simmer them with a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of gelatine, and a splash of orange essence. Pour it into a tin, chill it, and cut into squares. The natural sugars in wartime carrots, grown in rich allotment soil, were sweeter than anything you find in Tesco today. Children could not tell the difference between this and proper toffee. It satisfied the craving without burning through the ration book. A pound of carrots cost about 2pence. The whole batch fed a family for the week. Mothers tucked squares into school satchels, and fathers took them down the pit. We spend 3 quid on a bag of Haribo now. Carrot fudge cost almost nothing and did not rot your teeth. Number 24, Woolton pie. Named after the Minister of Food himself, Lord Woolton, this was the dish that proved vegetables alone could make a proper dinner. Dice a pound of potatoes, 2 carrots, a parsnip, and a turnip. Simmer them in a little vegetable stock with a tablespoon of oatmeal stirred through to thicken. Pour the lot into a pie dish and top with a crust made from potato pastry. Flour mixed with cold mashed potato and a scraping of margarine. Bake until golden. The oatmeal gave it body. The potato pastry gave it crunch. The mixed roots gave it a sweetness that made you forget there was no meat. The British restaurants, those communal canteens set up by the government, served Woolton pie to millions. It cost 4pence a portion. Some families hated it. Others learned to love it. But it kept the nation fed when meat was a memory, and every shilling mattered. Number 23. Mock goose. No goose. No poultry of any kind. Just a pound of dried lentils cooked until soft, mixed with fried onions, sage, breadcrumbs, and a beaten egg. Then shaped into a loaf and baked. The sage and onion stuffing flavor was so convincing that children genuinely believed they were eating something special. The lentils provided protein and iron. The breadcrumbs stretched it further. A whole mock goose cost about 6pence to make, and served 6 people with leftovers for Monday. Ministry of Food leaflets called it an excellent substitute. Families called it making do. But the flavor was honest and warming. Modern vegans would recognize this as a sophisticated plant-based roast. In 1943, it was just Tuesday dinner. Number 22nd, dripping toast soldiers with Bovril. Before rationing, dripping toast was ordinary. During rationing, it became an art form. Mothers saved every drop of fat from the weekly meat ration, strained it through muslin, and kept it in a covered pot by the stove. A thin scraping on toast, with a smear of Bovril on top, created something extraordinary. The beef fat carried rich, savory flavor. The Bovril added depth and salt. Sliced into soldiers for children, it was breakfast, tea, and sometimes supper. Bovril cost about 7pence a jar and lasted weeks. The dripping was free. Together they provided calories and comfort when both were scarce. Nutritionists now acknowledge that natural animal fats in small quantities are far better than the margarine the government was pushing. Number 21. Lord Woolton's vegetable broth. Different from the pie, this was the soup that factory workers drank by the pint. Housewives simmered any vegetables they could find, potato peelings included, with barley and a single oxo cube. The barley thickened it into something substantial. The oxo gave it a meaty backbone. A huge pot cost about 4p and could be reheated across 3 days, growing richer each time as the barley swelled and the flavors deepened. Factory canteens served it with hunks of the national loaf, that dense, brown, fortified bread the government mandated. Nobody loved the national loaf, but dipped in Woolton's broth, it became tolerable. This soup kept the war effort moving. Workers who drank it reported feeling fuller for longer than those eating bread and margarine alone. The barley was the secret, slow-release energy before anyone had a name for it. Number 20. Eggless sponge cake. Eggs were rationed to 1 per person per week. Sometimes none at all, so mothers invented cake without them. The recipe called for 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, 1 cup of water, and 2 tablespoons of whatever fat was available. The vinegar reacted with the bicarbonate of soda, creating bubbles that lifted the sponge. The result was light, tender, and honestly delicious. Some women added a spoonful of cocoa when they could get it. Others stirred in a tablespoon of marmalade. The whole cake cost about 6p. It appeared at birthday parties, church fêtes, and Sunday teas throughout the war. Women swapped variations in pencil on scraps of paper, and the best recipes were guarded fiercely. When eggs returned to the shops, many women kept making the eggless version because it was simpler, and their families preferred it. Number 19. Potato Jane. Layer sliced potatoes and onions in a greased dish with a cup of grated cheese, whatever hard cheese the ration allowed. Pour over a thin white sauce made from the milk ration, a tablespoon of flour, and a knob of margarine. Bake for 40 minutes until the top turns golden and the potatoes are soft through. This was Rationing's answer to gratin dauphinois, and it held its own. The cheese melted into strings. The onions sweetened in the heat. The potatoes soaked up every drop of sauce. Potato Jane appeared in the Ministry of Food's War Cookery leaflet in 1942 and became a fixture in homes where the weekly cheese ration of 2 ounces had to stretch. Mothers learned to grate cheese finely, so a little covered more ground. The dish was filling, cheap, and beloved by children who wanted nothing to do with vegetables unless cheese was involved. Number 18. Rabbit in cider. Here is where rationing food gets interesting. Rabbit was never rationed. It was wild, abundant, and practically free for anyone near the countryside. Farmers encouraged families to trap them because rabbits destroyed crops. Simmering a skinned rabbit in rough cider with onions, carrots, and a bay leaf for 2 hours produced something restaurant quality. The cider tenderized the meat and created a sauce with a sweet, sharp depth that no amount of stock cubes could replicate. By 1943, the Ministry of Food was actively promoting rabbit as a patriotic protein. Posters said that the rabbit is not only a friend, it is an excellent dish. Families near the countryside ate rabbit 3 times a week. Town dwellers queued at market stalls where rabbits sold for $1 each, unrationed and plentiful. The meat was lean, high in protein, and delicious when slow cooked. Michelin-starred restaurants now serve braised rabbit at £40 a head. During rationing, it was the meal that kept rural Britain thriving. We abandoned it for chicken nuggets. That should tell you something. Number 17. Stuffed marrow. When allotment marrows swelled to absurd proportions every August, mothers did not waste a single one. Halve the marrow, scoop out the seeds, and stuff the cavity with a mixture of breadcrumbs, grated onion, chopped leftover meat or corned beef, herbs, and a splash of Worcestershire sauce. Bake until the flesh turns translucent and the stuffing crisps on top. The marrow itself becomes a sweet, yielding vessel, almost custard-like in texture. A single marrow fed 4 people for about 4p. The breadcrumbs stretched whatever protein was available. The Worcestershire sauce added umami that made the whole thing taste far more substantial than it was. Allotment holders grew so many marrows during the war that competitions were held for the largest. Entire villages turned up to weigh them. But the real triumph was not size. It was what happened in the kitchen afterward. Number 16. Oatmeal sausages. When pork was scarce and sausage casings were impossible to find, mothers made sausages from oatmeal. To make them, mix 2 cups of oats with a fried onion, a tablespoon of chopped sage, salt, pepper, and a beaten egg if you had one. Shape the mixture into sausage rolls and fry them in a little dripping until golden and crispy. The outside shattered, and the inside stayed soft and savory. These appeared on plates across Britain alongside mashed potatoes and gravy, and children ate them without complaint. The oats provided sustained energy, and the sage gave them an unmistakable sausage flavor. Butcher's sausages during rationing were already half bread and cereal anyway. Mothers who made their own oatmeal version at least knew exactly what was in them. A batch cost about 3p and made 12 sausages. That fed the family twice. Number 15. Corned beef hash. 1 tin of corned beef, 4 large potatoes, an onion, and whatever seasoning you could muster. Dice the lot. Fry it together in the last of the dripping, and press it flat in the pan until the bottom forms a golden crust. Flip it if you dared. Serve with pickled beetroot and a cup of strong tea. Argentine corned beef arrived by the shipload. It was not rationed in the same way as fresh meat, making it the protein lifeline that got millions through the war. A tin cost about 9p and stretched across 2 meals. The hash was filling, quick, and oddly addictive. That crust on the bottom, salty and crisp where the potato met the hot fat, was fought over at every table. Children scraped the pan. Fathers asked for seconds. It was the meal nobody was proud of, but everybody finished. Number 14. Bread and butter pudding. Stale bread was never wasted. Never. Mothers layered yesterday's slices in a dish with whatever dried fruit the ration allowed, poured over a custard of powdered egg, milk, and sugar, and baked until the top turned golden and the center set into warm, trembling softness. The dried fruit plumped in the custard. The bread edges crisped to a biscuity crunch. A pudding that cost almost nothing tasted like celebration. The Ministry of Food leaflets specifically encouraged bread and butter pudding as a way to use the national loaf, which went stale faster than white bread. The recipe appeared in every Women's Institute cookbook, every school cookery class, and every mother's mental filing cabinet. It was rationing's greatest pudding, and the fact that Heston Blumenthal later charged £12 a portion for essentially the same thing tells you everything about what we lost when we stopped making it at home. Number 13. Cheese and onion pie. A short crust pastry shell filled with sliced onions softened in a little margarine, bound with the weekly cheese ration grated fine, a splash of milk, and seasoned with mustard powder. Baked until the pastry was crisp and the filling was molten and savory. This was the meal vegetarians did not know they were eating. No meat required, no meat missed. The mustard powder lifted the cheese so that 2 ounces tasted like half a pound. Onions were never rationed, so they carried much of the flavor load during the war. Mothers used them in everything. Cheese and onion pie was the crowning use. Served hot with boiled potatoes or cold with pickle the next day, it was the meal that proved rationing did not have to mean misery. Number 12. Fish pie. Fish was never rationed, and the government pushed it hard. Posters urged families to eat more fish while the men were fighting. Mothers poached whatever the fishmonger had, usually coley or whiting, the cheapest white fish available. They flaked it into a dish with a white sauce made from the milk ration and topped it with mashed potato. Bake until the potato browned and the sauce bubbled at the edges. A few prawns or a hard-boiled egg added luxury when available. The whole pie cost about $1 and fed 6. It was warm, creamy, and deeply comforting on cold evenings. The national loaf on the side soaked up every drop. Fish pie survived rationing and thrived afterward because it was genuinely excellent. The versions we buy frozen today cannot touch the ones made in wartime kitchens with fresh fish and real potatoes. Number 11. Potato scones. Scottish mothers had this figured out. Mash leftover potatoes with a little flour, salt, and a knob of butter. Roll flat, cut into triangles, and cook on a dry griddle until brown spots appear on both sides. The outside firmed into a thin, crisp shell, while the inside stayed soft and pillowy. Served hot with a scraping of margarine, or alongside bacon and eggs, these scones stretched the potato ration into something that felt like a treat. A batch of 8 cost virtually nothing and took 10 minutes from bowl to plate. Factory workers carried them wrapped in grease-proof paper. Children ate them with jam. They used the cheapest ingredient in the kitchen and turned it into something people actually craved. Potato scones survive in Scotland, but vanished from English tables decades ago. Bring them back. The Ministry of Food published an official Christmas pudding recipe in 1943, knowing that traditional ingredients were impossible to find. Breadcrumbs replaced half the flour. Grated carrot and potato replaced some of the sugar and fat. Mixed spice carried the flavor. Whatever dried fruit could be found went in. A tablespoon of marmalade added citrus depth. Steamed for 4 hours, the pudding emerged dark, dense, and surprisingly rich. Families saved rations for weeks to accumulate enough ingredients. The making of the pudding was a ceremony, everyone stirring the bowl and making a wish. It was not the same as pre-war pudding. Everyone admitted that. But it was Christmas pudding, and it mattered. The act of making it together, of saving and sacrificing for one special meal, gave it a significance that no shop-bought pudding has ever matched. Tinned Spam arrived from America under the Lend-Lease program and divided the nation. Some loved it, others endured it. But when sliced thick, dipped in a simple batter of flour and water, and fried in hot fat until golden and crispy, Spam became something altogether different. The batter sealed in the moisture. The outside cracked open to reveal hot, salty, pink meat. Served with chips and mushy peas, Spam fritters became the fish and chip shop alternative when cod was scarce. A tin cost about $1 and made 8 fritters. Schools served them into the 1970s. Children either loved them fiercely or refused them entirely. There was no middle ground. But for protein, calories, and sheer guilty pleasure, nothing in the ration book came close to a properly fried Spam fritter. The batter was the redemption. Number 8. Tripe and onions. Tripe is cow stomach boiled until tender, sliced thin, then simmered in a creamy milk and onion sauce seasoned with white pepper. In the industrial North, tripe was survival food. It cost pennies per pound because nobody with money wanted it. Slow cooked in that creamy sauce, with the onions melting into sweetness, tripe became silky, mild, and oddly comforting. Housewives queued at tripe dressers, specialist shops that cleaned and prepared the stomach lining. By 1945, tripe shops numbered in the hundreds across Lancashire and Yorkshire. The dish provided protein when meat rations dwindled to nothing. It was cheap, it was filling, and it kept working families going through the hardest years. Children mostly hated it. Parents ate it without complaint. That divide tells you everything about who understood hunger and who had never felt it. Number 7. Peas pudding. Split yellow peas were boiled for hours with a ham bone, then mashed smooth with butter, salt, and pepper. Served alongside boiled bacon or spread cold on bread the next day, peas pudding was the original high-protein meal. The peas alone delivered more protein per penny than almost any other food available during rationing. A pound of dried split peas cost about 4p and fed a family twice. The ham bone, often begged from the butcher for nothing, gave smoky depth that made the humble peas taste rich. In the northeast, peas pudding was as essential as bread. Market stalls sold it by the ladleful, steaming and golden, scooped into grease-proof paper. Workers ate it standing up. Mothers spread it on toast for children's tea. It was cheap, nutritious, and genuinely delicious. Modern protein powders cost 30 quid a tub. Peas pudding cost 4p and did the same job. Number 6. Mock banana. Parsnips were boiled and mashed with a few drops of banana essence and a teaspoon of sugar. The mash was spread on bread or served as a sweet side alongside other dishes. The parsnip trick fooled younger children completely. Older children knew the difference, but they ate it anyway because sweetness of any kind was precious. The parsnip's natural sugar, concentrated by cooking, did most of the work, and the banana essence, a tiny bottle costing a few pennies, added the familiar aroma. Mothers served mock banana sandwiches at birthday parties, and nobody complained. When real bananas finally returned to Britain in 1946, children queued around the block. Some tried a banana and still preferred the parsnip version. Habit is a powerful thing. Number 5. Vegetable roll. A suet pastry rolled flat, spread thick with a filling of diced vegetables, onions, and herbs, bound with a little gravy, then rolled tight like a roly-poly and steamed for 2 hours. The suet crust turned glossy and rich, almost meat-like in its satisfying heaviness. The vegetables inside turned soft and fragrant. Sliced into thick rounds and served with gravy and mashed potatoes, it looked and ate like a proper Sunday dinner. No meat at all. A vegetable roll cost about 4p to make and fed a family of 5. The suet provided the calories that vegetables alone could not. The long steaming married the flavors together into something greater than the sum of its parts. Ministry of Food posters championed it. Women's Institute demonstrations taught it. Families made it week after week because it worked. Number 4. Potato and leek soup. Fry sliced leeks in a knob of margarine. Add diced potatoes and water or stock made from vegetable peelings. Simmer until soft and mash roughly with a fork. Season with salt, pepper, and a grating of nutmeg if you had any. This was rationing's most comforting meal. The leeks gave sweetness and depth. The potatoes thickened the broth into something substantial. A huge pot cost about 3p and lasted 2 days. Mothers served it with the national loaf or oatcakes. It was the meal that appeared most often in wartime diaries. Monday soup. Tuesday soup again. Nobody minded. The British version of this soup predated the French vichyssoise by decades. We just never gave it a fancy name or served it cold with cream. We ate it hot and honest, and it kept families going through winters that seemed to last forever. Number 3. Curried root vegetables. The Ministry of Food promoted curry powder as a way to make boring vegetables exciting, and it worked. Dice carrots, parsnips, turnips, and potatoes. Fry an onion with a tablespoon of curry powder. Add the vegetables and enough water to cover, then simmer until tender. Serve over boiled rice or with bread. The curry powder transformed bland roots into something aromatic and warming. A tin of curry powder cost about 9p and lasted months. The spice provided variety when the same vegetables appeared every single night. Mothers who had never encountered curry before the war became enthusiastic converts. This may have been the beginning of Britain's love affair with curry. It was born not in Brick Lane restaurants, but in wartime kitchens where housewives reached for anything that could make turnips interesting. Number 2. Oxtail soup. Oxtail was cheap because butchers could barely give it away. A full tail cost a few pence. Mothers browned the pieces, simmered them for hours with onions, carrots, celery, and barley, and produced a soup so rich and gelatinous it coated the spoon. The natural collagen in the tail created a body that no stock cube could match. A single oxtail made enough soup for 2 days. The meat, picked from the bones, went back into the pot. Barley thickened the soup. A splash of Worcestershire sauce finished it. This was the most nutritious meal on the rationing table. Collagen, protein, iron, and slow-release carbohydrates all came together in a single bowl. Heinz later mass-produced a tinned version, but it bore no resemblance to the real thing. The homemade oxtail soup of wartime Britain was magnificent, a meal that modern bone broth enthusiasts would pay a fortune for. Number 1. Stew and dumplings. The monarch of rationing meals. Whatever meat the weekly ration allowed, usually shin or scrag end, was browned and simmered for hours with onions, carrots, potatoes, and turnips, until the tough fibers surrendered and the gravy turned thick and dark. Then came the dumplings. Flour, suet, a pinch of salt, and cold water, mixed, shaped into balls, and dropped into the bubbling stew for the final 20 minutes. They swelled and steamed, soaking up the gravy until they were pillowy on the outside and dense at the center. 1 pound of the cheapest beef, stretched with vegetables and suet dumplings, fed a family of 6 until every plate was wiped clean. This meal appeared on British tables more than any other during rationing. It was the dish mothers made when there was almost nothing left in the larder. It was the dish that proved hard times did not mean hunger. That stew pot, blackened and heavy, simmering on the range for hours, was the beating heart of the wartime kitchen. The smell alone could comfort a household. And the dumplings, those glorious dumplings, turned scarcity into something that tasted like love. We buy ready meals now for 4 quid that cannot hold a candle to what our grandmothers made for 6p. Stew and dumplings kept a nation alive. It deserves to come back to every table in Britain. Try one this week: peas pudding, potato scones, or oxtail soup. Just one. See if your grandmother was wrong. I do not think she was. Drop a comment and tell me which one you are making first.